This is breaking news.
At approximately 12:55 this afternoon, an officer in uniform was walking near 2875 West 8th Street here in Brooklyn. Our officer observed a man wearing thick red gloves armed with two knives. One is approximately 16 inches long. He was standing outside of a silver SUV that was blocking traffic on West 8th Street. As the officer began to approach the SUV to investigate, the man rushed toward the officer with one of the knives raised. Acting quickly, the officer tactically repositioned, putting distance between himself and the armed man. At this point, additional officers, who were also in uniform, were walking on West 8th Street. They were alerted by community members that something was happening. These officers rushed to help their fellow officer. As they did, the armed perpetrator began to advance on these officers. One officer gave numerous clear orders to the man to drop the knives. Failing to drop the knives, and as the subject continued to charge at the officers, one officer fired 4 times, striking the man in the leg and shoulder. Although the man fell to the ground, he continued to fight with our officers, refusing to release the grip on one of the knives. It was during this intense, prolonged struggle that one of the officers was sliced on the hand. Fortunately, the officer, who is a 6-year veteran of the department, is recovering in the hospital. Aid was rendered to the subject at the scene, and the perpetrator was transferred to the hospital, and he is in stable condition. He is a 57-year-old man who resides here in Brooklyn. This incident was captured by multiple sources of video, including body-worn cameras. Before asking PBA President Pat Lynch to speak, I have to commend the actions of these brave officers. I have watched these videos. While we don't yet know the motive behind this attack, we certainly know that the actions of these officers exemplifies what it means to be New York's finest. Pat?
Thank you, Commissioner. If the department was putting together a script for a training video, they would use this. Our police officers, when others are at their worst, were at their best. Firearms control, giving distance, directions and instructions along with the public, from the public to us and us to them. And then the restraint to make sure they're stopping this person from trying to kill anyone else. And then a struggle that went on and on and on. Still that restraint. A knife, that's huge. This is what New York City police officers do on a regular basis. This is what many of our detractors and city council and others should be talking about. This is the New York City Police Department.
We'll take a few questions.
Any history on the suspect?
That's under investigation at this time. We have nothing on that at this point.
Anybody else? Any other questions? Any other questions? Rocco.
Commissioner, can you maybe more detail explain the struggle? How many officers are on the ground with them, and how long does it actually take before he's disarmed?
I'm going to yield to the Detective Bureau to answer those questions.
So, when the officers arrive, it's 3 officers that leave the station house at the 60 precinct. They're the ones who engage them. It's those 3 officers that are struggling with them, and they're putting out a call for help as they're struggling with them.
How long does the struggle go on for?
It was over 2 minutes.
And everyone's on the ground?
They're struggling on the ground with him, he's holding the knife very tightly in his hands. He's not letting go of it, and the officers struggle for a very prolonged time to move that knife, that long-bladed knife, from him.
Was he in traffic court beforehand, or is there any connection to traffic court at all?
At this time, the investigation's still very early on. We have nothing that leads us in that direction right now. But once again, the investigation's very early on.
Okay, so we have time for one or two
Show the
more.
picture of the knife, please.
Can you describe the knife, please?
So the knife, the one knife is 16 inches overall with an 11-inch blade. The other one is a fixed blade, which is overall length of 6 inches.
All right, any other questions? All right, guys, we're good. Thank you very much.